Hello everyone, I'm Azortharion, and in this video I'll go over some of the changes for all the hunter specs in Dragonflight. I'm going to go over some of the best builds, talents, rotations, and that sort of thing to help you get started quickly with the Dragonflight pre-patch. Alright, so starting out with BM here. I just updated my guides on Icy-Veins, and on here you'll be able to find the best talent setups for both Raid and Mythic Plus. I'm just going over the build. So for the main tree, we're basically going with kind of a cookie cutter build, picking up mostly defensive stuff, Born to be Wild, Nature's Endurance, which is amazing for surviving one-shots. Post-haste is obviously always nice to have. Misdirection, you can also throw this over in Tar Trap, especially for BM, not really a big deal either way. You have a bit of a few choice notes here. The most important thing is that you do need to like sort of force the build to get over here to the left side so you can pick up Beastmaster, Improved Kill Command, and Alpha Predator. And most of the DPS stuff really happens in the final 3 rows, but we only have 6 points to spend down here. So once we've spent some points over here, we spend the final point here in Master Marksman. Serrated Shots is also pretty good. Not really a big deal which one you pick here, but Master Marksman seems a little bit better. Now for the juicy stuff, which is the main tree, you'll notice that we don't go for any capstone traits, and the reason for that is we're picking up Rylak Stalker's Piercing Fangs effect here via a legendary for the most part. Other than that, it's pretty standard. We're still running Animal Companion, so if you like double pet gameplay, that's good. This is the single target setup, so there will be no multi-shot, no Beast Cleave, and no Kill Cleave. We're just kind of going for your kill command damage, leaning into that heavily. Bloodshed is one extra button you'll be concerned about in the pre-patch. Other than that, it's pretty standard stuff, like effects that you're kind of used to in some way. We're also going a little bit over in the Die Beast side of the tree, where you're going to be picking up Die Command and Die Frenzy, which is basically going to give you maybe like 20% overall, just from like passive Die Beast hitting your target. So that's pretty awesome. Moving on to AoE, it's basically the exact same setup for the hunter tree, so we're just going straight to the onwards. So we switch, basically shifting some points out of Die Command and Die Frenzy, since these are single target talents, so that we have points to go into Multi-Shot, Beast Cleave, and Kill Cleave. Kill Cleave is a new talent that makes Kill Command also essentially Beast Cleave. Instead of going for the Kill Command damage, we're going over for the Sharp Barbs, which is 40% Barb Shot damage for 2 ranks. It's extra important to be multi-dotting your barb shot here in the pre-patch, so make sure you have your mouse over macro set up, and if you were slacking a little bit on that until this point, then you might want to sort that out, especially getting into Dragonflight. You'll notice another difference is we're actually going for the Piercing Fangs, and that is because of a big paradox of BM builds in the pre-patch, which is that we're actually going to play our single target legendary Dire Command in AoE and Mythic Plus, because we're going to be picking up Rylak Stalkers via our talent system. So we're going out of this over here, Die Command, we're basically going to be picking up these 3 points in the form of a legendary. Then we're going with the Piercing Fangs talent setup right here. Alright, moving on to rotation, this is pretty basic stuff. BM hasn't fundamentally changed all that much. You might think this looks a little bit ugly, and it does. Before the Dragonflight release, I will be changing all this to like a checkbox system where you can select the talent you have chosen, and it'll sort of clean up the rotation for you. But pretty basic stuff, you're going to be using most of your stuff on cooldown, min-maxing barb shots via multi-dotting, and you can be a little bit more flexible with how you use your kill commands and Cobra shots in the future, because now with the talent, kill command has 2 charges, so you don't have to like hit it perfectly on cooldown every single time. As for stats, kind of a big change here, whereas traditionally BM has not really been a huge fan of Mastery, we now actually quite like it. While Haste is like sort of falling behind a bit. Haste is actually decent with single target, but on AoE it falls behind quite a bit, so it sort of averages out to be like the 3rd best stat, while Versatility is pretty universally fairly bad. Critical Strike you can never go wrong with, so yeah, this is what you want to look for. High Mastery, and all the other stats are pretty decent, but generally Mastery Crit, Mastery Haste is the way to go. Gonna skip gems and enchants, it's just an extension of this. Going over to Covenants, so for single target, and actually most content, just like Shelllands, we're gonna be going Night Fae with Dreamweaver. It has the best single target, and it has, basically the best cleave up to the points that we care about for BM. So yeah, no real changes here, honestly. You can still, like, Benthir is probably better than it used to be, but still not something that's going to be meta, and you can basically keep going with your exact Night Fae Dreamweaver setup that you've been going with so far. For best legendaries, I alluded to some of this in the builds and talent section. So essentially, you're going to be using die command on AoE and stuff, because we're going to be picking up Relic Stalker's Piercing Fangs in a talent, and they don't stack. And then for pure single target, we're going to be picking up die command via talents, but we're not going to have Piercing Fangs, so you're going to get that through the legendary. And here you can also see, Relic Stalkers generally on boot, die command generally on chest. You might think chest is a little bit weird, but the reason we go for the chest is because you do not want to break your Mechagon ring set. That brings me onwards to the gear section. Basically, I've just updated this to be more, in line with our new stat priority, which is heavy on mastery. So I've swapped some of these items over. Obviously, we don't have to worry about tier anymore. So I've gotten this Vigilant Guardian helmet, which has a high mastery, and just small changes like that. But of course, you should always be simming yourself, regardless of me or some BiS list says. Other than that, on Icy-Veins, you'll be able to find, Mythic Plus guide, which is basically the same AoE talents I talked about in the builds and talent section. And we go over some of the other considerations you might have to make for Mythic Plus. And then for each raid, I've offered, the overall, basically single target raiding talent setup. And then on individual bosses, I advise to go for AoE builds, and in some cases, 2 target builds, although that's more relevant for the other specs. So yeah, I hope this was helpful for getting you started with the Beast Mastery and the Dragonflight pre-patch. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.